Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. On this project we built stage 1 of this floating miter station. It's inexpensive, super easy to build, and versatile, and I mean versatile. Stay tuned. So guys, this is the area that we're working on. This is my current miter station, if you could call it that. So this is a 12-inch Admiral saw from Harbor Freight. It's definitely done its job. It's done a great job. And this current station is just too flimsy and definitely need an upgrade as well. So yeah. Anyway, it's gotten me through what I needed to get me through. So this is what we're upgrading to. This is the 12-inch Metabo sliding compact compound miter saw. This thing is amazing. So the biggest thing about this miter saw, one, is it's just quieter, much quieter, and then the saw slides on the shaft rather than the saw slides with the shaft. So this one, the footprint doesn't increase as you use it, right? And on this Admiral saw here, as you can see, when you use the saw, the footprint increases. And when you work on in a small shop like this, it's only a 16 by 32. You need every piece of square footage you can get. So anyway guys, we start by cleaning off this area, and let's get to it. So guys, part of the reason why I'm making this video is possibly inspiring somebody, maybe getting some ideas for your shop, or if there's a person out there just getting into woodworking, and maybe you could maybe get a few ideas yourself, a few tips, for future builds. So I measure out this wall, and I want to see if an 8-foot floating miter shelf is gonna fit, and it is. Those 2x4 walls are a little less than 8 foot, so I decided to go with a full 8-foot sheet of full 8-foot sheet of plywood for my floating miter station. Guys, if you don't have a panel saw, you definitely need one. So this thing is a back saver for me. It's super accurate. Man, I haven't dreaded dealing with 4x8 sheets since I've gotten that thing. It's just so efficient, so effective. Here I've already cut out the plywood. The dimensions are 24 inches deep, 8 foot wide, and then the two side panels are 8 inches in height and 8 foot in width, the same as the top. This is the front panel of the floating miter station. We drill out pocket holes every 6 to 8 inches. The more pocket holes, the better. I think overkill is better with this because it will be floating and it will be supporting its own weight. So these next steps will be to mark out the 2 drawer faces. I start out by marking the center of the front panel. Don't pay attention to these first marks. I actually mark 6 inches from that center mark, and then I draw my vertical lines. I measure out 2 inches from the top and from the bottom, and this is what I use to line out where my drawer face is going to be. So approximately a 4-inch drawer face, top to bottom. On the outside here, it's off the screen, I mark in 2.5 inches, and then I draw my rectangle. So all the way out. Sorry for the camera, I just, I'm focused on what I'm doing, and I just can't move the camera out. So, but you'll see it here in just a little bit. So you see here, you know what I mean. This is the drawer face that I am going to cut out. These next steps are so crucial, guys, when you cut this out, because I am intending to use the same pieces that I cut out for the drawer faces. Because I intend to use the pieces that I cut out of the front panel of the miter station, what I do is something called a plunge cut. That way I don't have to drill a hole and then use a jigsaw or anything else like that. You can use some other techniques, but what I found the fastest is a circular saw, because I have much more control with the straight lines. As you can see here, I'm cutting out the long ends of the drawer fronts, and this is in ×4 speed, so you can see how slow I'm going compared to real-time speed. This currently is ×1. It looks like I'm like standing still, but I am cutting. As you can see here, guys, take your time and you'll be able to cut out perfectly straight lines if you take your time and you pay attention to what you're doing. I should have been a doctor cutting like that. Not really, but one can dream. So here, guys, I cut out the short, or the the blade leaves kind of a rounded edge at the very bottom, so I finish it off with a jigsaw, all these ends, till I meet that line perfectly, the perpendicular line. I flip my panel over and I connect the lines so I can make a plunge cut with my oscillator. The reason for this is I didn't want to go through the back end and have blowouts of the veneer on the plywood, so the best thing I can do is actually come in from the front. But as you can see, I still have some blowouts, unfortunately, but it's nothing that I can't correct, so I just kind of sand them and kind of, soften the edges up. After I plunge cut with my oscillator, I finish everything with a jigsaw, and this gives me more control over hitting each corner and making sure I don't cross the perimeter. Boom! I finished cutting these out and they look great. Just some fine sanding, maybe some trimming, and we have drawer fronts. And you notice how clean the cuts are. There's nothing, there's no blade over, no overcuts or anything like that. There's the blowout. Ugh. Guys, if you don't take time to admire your own work, you don't love yourself. You gotta love yourself. Overkill is best with this project. So here I glue and pocket screw the whole front of the floating miter station. I don't want any kind of, like again I said, I don't want any kind of deflection. This will be holding up its own weight, and I don't want anything compromising the strength especially if I'm cutting on this all the time. I do the same thing with the rear panel of the miter station. I glue and pocket screw just like I did the front. I measure and cut out joists, I guess you could call these. So they will be the ribs of the floating miter station. These are so crucial when it comes to strength, and I chose 1/8, you could say, for a reason. Like, it should have enough vertical strength. And this is actually overkill as well. So whenever you guys cut these out, make sure they are snug. Everything here is super accurate and super snug. And I glue and screw these. I also place all these joists flush with the drawer opening, so I don't have to put any kind of spacers or anything like that for the drawer slides that I intend to use for this. So as you can see here, the joists are flush with the perpendicular openings of the drawer cutouts. At this time, we finish the floating structure of the miter station and we're ready for install. So right here I have a Bosch level. If you do not have one of these, I'm telling you, you gotta get one of these too. On top of the panel saw. It just makes life so much easier when you have the right tools, guys. When you have the right tools. So here I put in some cleats to be able to install this by myself. So these are kind of stops. What I do is I hit the, I lean it against the wall and then I let it come down until it hits these stops. I tag these in with 3-inch deck screws, and they are definitely enough to hold up the miter station. So through this whole process, guys, I use this laser to level and shim and get this where I want it, and that is as flat as I can possibly get it. Remember, this is going to be, a precision tool, and the saw is a very precision tool itself, so it's pointless if you can't get your station to be completely flat. I use a jack with a 1x so I can lift the center of the miter station so I can close the gap on my level here, telling me that it's completely flat, and then I put in a support. Bring in the miter saw. Boom, look at the theatrics. Like I said earlier, guys, you gotta sit back and admire your work. You gotta check it out too to make sure everything looks right. You gotta function it, and yeah, you definitely gotta do all those things. At this stage, we start to cut out the outriggers. I built them this way for a reason. They're going to be modified later on. Like I said, this is stage 1 of this miter station build, and I have other plans of putting in stops my way. Like, I don't want to use T-tracks or anything like that, even though those are great. Those are actually very great. I just want to be able to do things slightly different. I have things in mind that will work for me, and I think will work for other people. So yes. Pocket screws, pocket screws, pocket screws. This whole station is built with pocket screws. Here I draw guideline center mass of my outrigger walls. I drill holes so I can have reference points to where to put my screws in to install the outriggers from the bottom. Before I installed the outrigger, guys, I trimmed it on the table saw until it was perfectly flush with the top of the wings of the miter saw. It's a 10. I give it a 10. Definitely a 10. We're getting close to the end here, guys. I take the saw back out and I begin to sand and prep it for stain. I use a stain from Old Masters. It's a wiping stain, and the stain is called Early American. This stain turns out so good. I love using this stuff. I've used Minwax before, but I've found that Old Master stain just goes on so much more evenly. And these outriggers are pine, and I didn't have to do any kind of pre-stain with these, and I didn't have to do the platform either. And it just comes out so much more even. The front of the miter station was done with a bed liner from Harbor Freight. I forgot what it was called, but I just loved the look of it with the wood, so I decided to go that route. I use a polyacrylic for my clear coat. I like this stuff because it's not messy, you know, it's not oil based, and it just goes on. It's forgiving. Here we go, guys. It's looking so good. Everything's drying right now. I put about 2 coats of that polyacrylic on top until I got the thickness I wanted. Here I'm doing the front drawer faces, and I let these dry. This black piece is a drain I got from Home Depot, and this will be my dust collector for the miter saw. I'm gonna give this a shot. I'm gonna give this a try, and it goes with a 2.5 inch pipe, and hopefully that's enough to get some draft going with the miter saw. Take note the differences, guys, of how I cut this hole out. I drilled a hole first, and then I used a jigsaw and the difference between how I cut out the drawer faces. To install this drain, all I do is drill some holes and then tag them into the thickness of the plywood with some drywall screws. The miter station is set up halfway with the dust collection. Like I said, this is stage 1. I do have different plans to maybe put a shroud or a more effective way to collect dust. I also install the saw back in, get it to where I want it, and then I cinch it down. We are now on building the drawers. So guys, I wanted to share with you an interesting blade here. This is an adjustable dado blade, and you can use a dado stack. So this is what I'm going to use to get the grooves into my drawer sides. And all you have to do here is set a quarter, like I'm setting it to a quarter right here, and the blade will actually wobble to a 1/4 inch thickness. I cinch it down, I put a dado plate on, set my height, and run my piece through. Voila, 1/4 inch thick groove. Easy as that. I cut all the parts for my drawers off camera, and now I begin to assemble everything, getting it ready for installation. Here guys is another example of me using my panel saw, and this time I do a cross cut, and then after the cross cut I take it to the table saw. Like a glove, guys. I install 100-pound capacity drawer slides, ball bearing drawer slides for my drawers. Take note as well, guys, that this is why I have the support joists, you could call them, flush with the inside opening of the drawer cutouts. After I install the drawer slides, obviously I install the drawer. I assemble the next drawer off camera just to save some time. And here she is. I finish off my dust collector drain with 2-inch pipe running all the way to the right and forward so I can have ease of attachment for my vacuum. I put some swag on my drawer faces with these black handles, very modern looking, and you have to dust them off after. Right now, guys, I'm feeling pretty proud. I'm definitely liking how it's turning out. I test out the dust collection system. It does work, but like I said, this is stage one, and I do have plans of upgrading this area. Maybe even a couple more ports to the left and the right back here until I have close to 100% dust collection. Guys, if you have made it this far, thank you so much for watching the video. And here we are with the final reveal of stage one of this miterstation build. There's more to come because I do want to update these outriggers. I have ideas for stops. I do want to build my own kind of stops, dust shroud, and a better dust collection system. But guys, like and subscribe. Thank you so much again, and I'll see you on the next projects. Stay addicted.